So men are lonely, and it's getting worse, not better. There's absolutely no shortage of people cashing in on this fact either, tapping into the resentments that grow from loneliness and the growing desperation to claw out of that pit. Humans are social creatures after all. Lots of creators in this wider help men get women space will describe the type of men women like, or maybe, if you're lucky, a couple different types of men. A dominant alpha with a bulldozing force of will, or a fiercely independent sigma male, perfectly content on the fringes of society. And yes, they both sneak off for a late night rendezvous every couple of days, but that's just an ancient Spartan ritual, and it's perfectly hetero, they promise. This sphere also tends to have a good bit of overlap with the grind-set hustler types, with a favorite carrot to dangle, that to get relationships today, you need to be rich. And it's kind of obvious why, right? Having money legitimately solves a lot of everyday problems, and it's easy to see how being able to solve those problems for someone else might be appealing to others. A problem with this advice is that it is, for all intents and purposes, unattainable to most men. No matter how much financial advice YouTube you watch, even if it is real, genuinely good advice, it's probably not going to turn a guy working 10-hour shifts at the steelworks into a millionaire. And there might actually be some incentive for the creators to keep that goal out of reach, right? Financially stable men tend not to pay for the get-rich-quick courses. All this isn't to say that wealth can't help you get relationships, it's just to say that wealth isn't the only thing that can make a man attractive. And you're probably getting real sweaty without actually getting anywhere running on that treadmill. But I think what's appealing about this advice, especially in comparison to the advice men often get about dating outside of these spaces, is that it's actionable. They give you a pretty concrete model to look up to, a self-described alpha male. They tell you what you should say, how you should react, what you need to do on dates, concrete steps on how to get those dates. Is this advice actually helpful? Given the popularity of these guys has exploded, and yet the male loneliness epidemic is still getting worse, I'd say probably not. But having some kind of direction, some kind of model for how to talk to women feels a whole lot better than trying to figure things out from scratch. Other sources of advice for men can tend to be rather vague too, like, you have to be able to love yourself before you can love others, and you should go outside more. So what can I do for you? What's my advice? Well, you should be able to love yourself first, and you should go outside more. Wait, I promise it gets better. Listen, what you need is better marketing, and I've got a patent-pending 2-step solution guaranteed to up your chances, and it's the easiest thing in the world. Step 1, know what you're selling. Step 2, sell it. And sure, these tasks are a bit Herculean, but Hercules had 12 of those, and you only have 2. I like your odds, kid. Step 1, know what you're selling. It's hard to sell something when you don't know what it is, what you've got to offer. So it's time for a little introspection. When was the last time you described yourself outside of a resume? Sometimes we struggle to really understand ourselves the way we might be able to understand someone else. We have a tendency to think about other people in terms of traits. Harold's desk is a mess because he's a slob. Nicole tripped over the cord because she's clumsy. But we have a tendency to think of our own actions as the result of the circumstances we were put in. I left the shopping cart in the parking lot because they put the cart corral so far away. I threw the wrapper out the window because we didn't have a good place for it in the car. Psychologists call this the actor-observer bias. Because we tend to think this way, it can be hard to get a good read on the traits we actually have. A good exercise to get a better idea of this might be to consider how some narrator might describe your actions. Try to find patterns in your behavior. Think of what your first inclination is when you're actively making a decision, and consider how many times you acted on that inclination. What does that say about you? Even better, if you have friends willing to roast you, get their input on things. Have them describe you. Ask them to be brutal about it. Don't be afraid to throw your skills, your passions, and your hobbies in when describing yourself. Those are definitely also things that make you, you. When you have a good idea of exactly who you are, you can begin to ask yourself the bigger question: what do you love about yourself? What is there that someone else might latch on to? Kindness? Charisma? Encyclopedic knowledge of the Star Wars Extended Universe novelizations? In some distant future, the love of your life was just asked what they love about you. What's their answer? That is your product. That is what you're selling. And if you also love it, if you are a man you can be proud of, that can come with a bonus that's pretty universally attractive: confidence. But this begs the question, what if you don't like what you're selling? What if you don't see anything in yourself to love, or just not enough? Or you just see so much more to hate than to love? You're definitely not alone. I think the knee-jerk reaction to this kind of thing tends to be, of course there's something to love about yourself. You just gotta dig deeper. But I'm just going to take your word for it. You do probably know yourself better than I do. But there is hope. And believe it or not, looks aren't everything. I know. It's easy for me to say I'm, objectively speaking, the hottest man alive. Game recognizes Game King. No, I think what really makes a man attractive, the kind of man someone might actually want to build a life with, is a pretty simple breakdown. He is good, and he is interesting. Which is easier said than done, right? How do you become a good man? People have been literally arguing about this for millennia. In fact, maybe a couple millennia ago is a good place to start. Ancient Greeks debated at length about ethics and what makes someone good. This is because the wire hadn't been made yet and they had nothing better to do. Aristotle was one such guy, and he made a framework that was good enough to at least keep us talking about it to this day. Aristotle believed that people aren't born courageous, generous, or ambitious, but rather these were traits that we gained through repeated practice, like exercising certain muscles. A person wasn't born patient, they became patient by doing patient things over and over again, until it became second nature. And that makes some sense, right? As well as being social creatures, humans are also creatures of habit. So what you need to do to become a good man arises pretty naturally from these ideas, right? Find a specific deficiency. Find a specific trait that the man you can be proud of has that you don't. Then start working that muscle. For a concrete example, let's look at a trait I think shines pretty brightly to others. Consideration. What does a considerate person do? A considerate person puts themselves in the shoes of others and asks, what does this person need right now? That person with their hands full needs the door held open. Your coworkers need a message letting them know you'll be in late. Someone being talked over in a meeting needs acknowledgement. When you're actively looking for ways to show consideration, they pop up in all kinds of places. And as you practice consideration more and more, you'll start seeing more opportunities for it. Even better, just like lifting the same weight over and over again every day, it gets easier the more you do it. The good kind of spiral. An upward spiral. And to keep yourself at it for the lengths of time it'd really take to build that muscle, I'd recommend putting up some kind of reminder somewhere you look every day. Something that you can look at and think, is there anything I can do right now to show consideration? Keep the idea fresh in your mind, right? A sticky note on the mirror, a phone wallpaper. Set an actual daily reminder on your phone. Things like that, right? Eventually you realize it's become so easy, so second nature, you're doing it reflexively. And when you get to that point, find the next deficiency. Find the next trait you want but don't have, and start working on it with this same process. The muscle metaphor kind of breaks down a little bit here, as you'd really want to focus on one muscle for months at a time. Not good to do when you actually go to the gym, though. I do think I need to carve out another pretty important caveat here. When I see a man who acts with consideration to everyone, I think, that's a considerate man. When I see a man who shows consideration only to the young women in the workplace, I think that's a man with a motive, and I think most women are going to see it too. So if you want to show consideration to make yourself more attractive, it's a lot better to show consideration everywhere you might see an opportunity come up. And that advice might feel a little weird, right? It seems disingenuous to try and practice consideration just to look more attractive to women. The motive feels impure, but Aristotle might look at that and say, that's a perfectly good place to start. If that's what gets you doing good every day, let it be your motivation, because eventually you're not doing kind things because you want to be attractive anymore. Eventually you're doing kind things because you've made a habit of doing kind things. Eventually you're doing kind things because you are kind. Now, there's another pretty big aspect of Aristotelian virtue ethics that some philosophy nerds might be shouting at the screen right now, and I promise we'll get into it in another video. But for now, that's enough old dead guys preaching on soapboxes. If you let me talk about philosophy any longer, I'd have to start charging tuition. Anyway, I said a great man is both good and interesting. So let's hit on the other side of that coin. In his work, Expanded Cinema, Gene Youngblood said something that I think is extremely salient here. An interested person is an interesting person. This gives us a pretty good place to start. What interests you? And it really, honestly, doesn't have to be something like backpacking all over Europe or scaling Mount Everest every summer. What movies do you love? What games? What books? What YouTube rabbit holes keep you up until 2 a.m.? What are you passionate about? If I asked you to talk non-stop for 5 minutes about any subject of your choosing, would you be able to do it? If the answer to that last question was no, there might be some more work to do. But it is work you can do. It is a regimen you can start. Interest starts from a spark of curiosity, and like kindness can be nurtured by doing kind things, curiosity can be nurtured by indulging curiosities. If you catch yourself wondering how things work, or how a piece of art gets made, or the thought process behind an athlete's movements, pull out your phone. Don't let the question die in your head. Indulging curiosity has become so easy that I think a lot of us forget that it's an option. Find what fascinates you and chase that white rabbit. It won't only make you a more interesting person with each twist and turn through the tunnels, it's also, in my opinion, another fun way to live. To take this back to dating for a bit, it's so much more fun to talk to someone with a genuine passion for what they're talking about, and that passion is contagious. Even more importantly, a well-cultivated curiosity can be turned toward the person sitting across the table. You want to learn more about their interests, their stories, their passions. This is chemistry. This is connection. This is what so many pickup artists try to teach you to fake. But first of all, you're probably not that good of an actor, and more importantly, wouldn't you be happier with someone who genuinely fascinated you? This is another great thing about building yourself up into a man you can be proud of. You can be picky too when you've built up your self-confidence, when your self-worth comes internally, when you're not looking for a relationship for validation, you can seek out genuine connection. I should also point out that people and lives are complicated, and there's a good chance you'll have barriers to improving yourself that other people won't. But when you hit a roadblock, do your best to define exactly what it is. Instead of saying, this is hard, ask, why is this hard? Because that's probably the next thing you need to work on. If it's not something you can work on, then it's something you have to work around. Scaling a cliff is about finding the next foothold and rerouting if there isn't one. It's slow, it's methodical, and yeah, some people might have started a lot higher, but that doesn't change where your next foothold is. There's always an up to go. What's more, for those problems you can't just solve, you can build infrastructure for yourself, little systems, habits, reminders, things that make the workarounds easier to... I think I'm getting a little bit off track. This video was about dating, right? Right, so you don't exactly have to achieve nirvana before you start stepping foot in the dating scene, but being a man who's found, or built, great things about himself will help you immensely. Let's give you a little spit shine and let's set you up in the shop window then, shall we? All right, step 2, sell it. I'm stating the obvious here, but I know sometimes I've needed the obvious stated. To meet potential partners, you need to meet people. The more people you meet, the better your odds. So you found things you're passionate about. Go enjoy them with others. Really. If you like board games, find board game clubs. If you like sports, frequent sports bars. Or better yet, see if there's a local amateur league you can join. Even if the thing you're into is pretty male-dominated, going out more means you're going to meet more people for all kinds of reasons. It's also going to make you a more interesting person with more interesting experiences. You're going to make friends you bond with over a shared passion, and if nothing else, say it with me, that's just a nicer way to live. I don't want to discount online spaces either. We tend to act like they somehow don't count, but what are you doing in online spaces? You're talking to people, you're meeting new people, you're making connections, and having shared experiences. Whatever kind of space it is, find one and be active in it. Stick around, get to know the regulars, become a regular, take genuine interest in others, get better at connecting with people in general, and live a life that's fun for you. There's also something in particular I like about online spaces. When it comes to talking to people, a text box makes pretty good training wheels. You get the chance to really see what you're about to say before it's gone. A luxury talking out loud doesn't usually give you. There's also a lot of dedicated spaces online specifically for finding someone to date. And I'm not just talking about dating apps. Chat rooms and Discord servers where it's not just you and a stranger trying to find common ground. Out here in MeetSpace, there are singles mixers and there are speed dating events. See if there are any local ones. Getting to places where you can be confident the people you're talking to are single, are looking, and are open to being approached can help take away a lot of the uncertainty of asking someone out. Another benefit is that when you separate out your dating life from your wider social life like this, is it helps you avoid this common trap men often fall into in trying to turn every interaction into a grab at a relationship. Because that motive tends to read as desperation, and it isn't attractive to the person you're talking to or anyone within earshot. If you've met someone outside of these spaces and have built up a genuine connection, absolutely go for it. But for God's sake, Dave, the barista is just trying to do her job. And you should absolutely push yourself to actually ask someone out, and you're probably going to get rejected a lot. And that's a fantastic experience. And to be clear, a rejection is anything that isn't a yes. The vast majority of the time, if you ask a woman out and get a non-committal answer, she is saying no and is trying to spare your feelings. If the answer isn't a yes, take it as a no. This mindset helps you too. It keeps you from putting your life on hold for a relationship that might not ever happen, and helps you open yourself back up to other opportunities. If she said that she needed more time or that she wasn't sure yet, that ball's in her court now. Move on. Maybe she'll approach you about it again, maybe she won't, but you're getting back out there and not waiting around in limbo. And I think it's really important to accept that you're going to get rejected. Chemistry, attraction, connection are supremely complicated. You'll probably find a lot of people you click with before you find someone who clicks with you too. The first one might hurt, but you'll notice something on the other side of it. Those things you love about yourself haven't changed. You're still the man you were proud to be. And that rejection didn't change that. So chin up, say, I appreciate the honesty. Have a good one. You know what absolutely screams confidence to everyone within earshot? Taking a rejection gracefully. And hey, when it comes to making further connections with people, burning bridges will only ever hurt you. To turn the topic back on finding love in your everyday life, imagine something for me. Imagine there's a coworker you really like. You catch little glimpses here and there. You smile and give a little wave and she returns one. And you collect all the little smiles you can over the course of months. You want to ask her out, but you just can't bring yourself to. So you stick to little daydreams about what your future life together might look like, what kind of dates she might like to go on, and if she'd want a big, extravagant wedding or a cozy one in a church nestled in the woods. What kind of mother might she be? You know what that is? That's Act 1 in like 30% of true crime documentaries. Listen, it's perfectly okay and usually preferable to spend some time building a genuine connection with someone before asking them out, especially if it's someone you met in your day-to-day life. And while there's nothing inherently wrong with indulging in fantasy, like curiosity, can grow when you indulge it. Relationships can grow a lot faster in your head than they can in the real world, and it can stir real feelings when you're playing things out in your head. It can turn into real investment for a relationship that doesn't exist. That's natural, right? We consume stories all the time and feel invested in people who've never existed, felt losses that never actually happened, felt victorious for wins we watched on a screen, and I think it's beautiful. But when we turn that towards a person, when we invent a relationship with them and invest ourselves in it, when we spend months living that relationship in our heads, a no isn't just a lost opportunity anymore. It's the burning of a life we've spent real time living out. And a yes turns into a constant stream of disappointments, comparing your life to a perfect life you've imagined, one that a human woman has no hope of fulfilling for you. The moment you find yourself indulging a little too much in a fantasy about someone, if they're available and it's appropriate, I'd advise as soon as possible, the next thing you do, ask them out before a no becomes cataclysmic and you can easily move on. If not, I'd advise accepting then and there that a relationship isn't going to happen and move on to other avenues. Just like before, don't just drift in limbo. Get yourself back out there. If you found you've gone too far, if you didn't cut off the fantasy when you should have, honestly, I think the healthiest thing to do is to move away from the idea of a relationship with them entirely. Close that chapter. And maybe you need time to genuinely mourn the loss of that relationship, even if it was never real. Your brain lived in it like it was real. It maybe even spent a couple months there. If an unhealthy mindset never manifested in unhealthy behaviors, cut yourself some slack. You know what to look out for now, and you know how to avoid it. Oh, I should probably touch on dating apps. That's definitely been an elephant in the room for a while. I think a lot of the unhealthy views on dating that have been prevalent lately have sprung directly from dating apps. Like, if you break meeting people down into profile pictures and swipes, it's kind of obvious that you would see connections being based wholly on looks. But I also can't deny that dating apps are where a lot of the dating population are right now. Alright, so here's a little tip from me for navigating dating apps. Men do tend to use them extremely superficially, typically swiping right on just about everyone they think is remotely attractive. Women, however, tend to actually look over profiles, so put some effort into your bio. It's actually being read. Wear your passions on your sleeves. Let other people know this man you've built yourself up to be. Show off your social life. Show off some skills you've honed. Share some dumb stories. Add some genuine authenticity. Your sunglasses selfie in your F-150 ain't cutting it. Now, are you guaranteed to get a girlfriend by following this advice? In 2012, John Koenig coined the term sonder in his Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows. It's this feeling you get when you are hit by the truck. That is an understanding that everyone you see on the street is living a life as complex, as vivid, as deep as your own. When you look at a crowd and you see the edges of the fractals that make up their person, and you know that every inch is no less complex than the entire beautiful spiral. Pickup artists will often tell you that women are simple. Because they have to. Because if they're simple, they can sell you the secret. They can tell you how to pick up any woman you want for a subscription to their online course or by sticking around after the ads play. The reality is, women aren't a pre-programmed robot waiting for the secret words to be said before they'll sleep with you. And they aren't an inscrutable black box speaking in a language unknowable to men either. They are people. If there is some biological, pre-programmed difference between men and women, those will only ever be a drop in the bucket of a lifetime of living, of learning, of loving, of losing, of embarrassment and overcoming hardship, of the media we're immersed in, the societal pressures we're given, and a never-ending book of things that combine to make you, you. People are complicated, and relationships even more so. There can't be one easy trick, some line to drop. You can't make someone love you. But what you can do is make a life worth sharing, and it's a lot easier to find someone to share it with when you've done that. If you can't find things to love about yourself, build them. Thanks for watching.